KwaZulu-Natal Human Settlements MEC Siboniso Duma says land has been identified to build houses for flood survivors. The land, owned by eThekwini Municipality in Hammersdale, will be used to permanently relocate victims of the Lamonville floods. The municipality has promised to swiftly relocate the 229 flood victims, ensuring the site has basic services like water and sanitation. Let's now hear from Thapelo Mohapi, General Secretary of Abahlali, baseMjondolo. Very good afternoon to you, Thapelo. Thanks very much for your time. Your thoughts on what the MEC had to say on the back, of course, of that visit by the Human Settlements Minister?
Thank you very much, Weo. Good afternoon to the viewers as well. Abahlali baseMjondolo welcomes the initiative to actually relocate the 2022 floods victims as well as the recent floods. We hope this was not a media pressure, but it's actually the government will deliver on this. Remember, Weo, that the 2022 floods victims have been put into flats. Sometimes the government would not pay rent, and electricity and water would be cut out. We had to march to the municipality at some point to ask them to actually do something about the 2022 floods. 3 years later, it's 3 years too long for people not knowing about their future and what's going to happen. So finally, we are here now where the land is identified, and hopefully things will happen as quick as possible. We are, however, concerned that the victims of 2022 and the current victims are not part of the discussions, meaningful engagements with the government. The government speaks on the people's behalf without the people being on the table. And they go to the media and they announce, but some people have not been informed and have no idea what's going on.
Have you, or organizations like yours, actually raised this quite forcefully with your elected public representatives? Because everyone is involved here, from the city to the province to national government. Have you made your voice heard?
We've always tried to get an audience with the provincial government, particularly at the premier level. Of course, the new MEC has no intention of engaging organizations like ourselves, an organization that has more than 90,000 representation in the city of Durban alone. We are not recognized as people, as serious stakeholders by the provincial government. We've written a number of times to the premier trying to engage on issues of dealing with the informal settlements in KwaZulu-Natal as a whole, particularly in Durban, where people have been affected mostly by floods. We continue to lose our lives, and our people on the ground continue to suffer. Not many things have been said. In December the 19th, a landslide buried 2 people sleeping in their home in Nkanini in Mayville. The disaster management came and took the names of the people who are affected and disappeared. And we want to engage on those. How can we respond effectively as disaster management on the ground when people are facing such issues? But we don't get an audience from the provincial government.
Well, one would have thought that things would have changed. I mean, we are aware of. I mean, we've been talking about this over the years. What has been the attitude of the city and the province, towards your cause and you as an organization. But one would have thought, especially when you say that you've been engaging with the premier, who now comes from a different political party, that things would perhaps change. Are you saying that's not the case?
As I speak to you, the Premier's office is sitting with 3 letters from Abahlali baseMjondolo. There have been promises to meet, but that has never materialized since he came into office. And of course, as you have said, we have hoped that because now it's no longer one party that is in power, that the new Premier will probably be accommodating. But we are seeing the very same hostility, same way of not wanting to engage with us. In fact, our settlements, as I've said, one of our settlements on the 19th of December, 2 people were buried alive by landslide. Disaster came, took names, and disappeared. People are still, they were affected twice this time around. We are still on the ground trying to respond with some of the humanitarian organizations in KwaZulu-Natal, but the disaster management is nowhere to be found. That's why I'm saying that I'm hoping that the response on providing land for permanent residential for the victims of Lamonville as well as those of 2022 is not just a PR exercise, but it's something that is tangible that the government will this time respond immediately. We would expect a movement like ourselves to have known about the arrival of the minister in the province, and the MEC will take us along and as a serious stakeholder that actually can respond to this crisis. And I want to say, that we have ideas on how to deal with these issues of climate change that are happening. And we have ideas on how disaster management can respond better in the future when such disasters happen. And we have identified other places that are prone to floods and that will hit us next year this time around. We are expecting more rains in April. We don't know what's going to happen to the people who are still living along the riverbanks. So we don't get the audience, and therefore we can't do anything because we are not an implementing agent. We can only advise on governments, but it's very sad that our government does not want to listen to us. Instead, they see us as enemies when we want to actually be their allies and work with them in trying to solve this situation, that nobody lose their lives in the manner that they have. People have lost in a very indignified way. It's not easy for people to, it's not nice for people to lose their lives in the manner that the people in Lamonville have and other areas as well.
Well, it would seem the more things change, the more they stay the same for you. A quick one, just, we're talking today about Hammersdale, where the Human Settlements Department says it has identified land that is owned by the eThekwini Municipality. But you have places like Shellcross where there's opposition to similar moves.
Yes, the not in my backyard movement or the NIMBYism type of middle class comes in a form of in many forms. These are coming from the the Ratepayers Association, who do not want poor, particularly black people, to live among them, and these are people that we need to name and shame them. With the municipality, with government. We can't have people who think that in 30 years into democracy that they want to live alone according to along the racial lines. So that's pure racism. That's pure anti-poor. That is being applied by those who call themselves Ratepayers Association. But because poor people don't pay rates, they don't contribute, therefore they should not be allowed to live amongst them. But also, some of their concerns is very relevant. The municipality sometimes dumps people in these areas and build houses that are not in good conditions and do not provide proper services. And when they don't provide proper services to areas that are next to affluent areas, the affluent areas are then affected. And that's why we wanted to work with the municipality to ensure that people are not dumped like human waste that are supposed to be dumped in a human dumping area where you just leave them and forget about them. So some of the concerns that they've raised are very relevant. But however, we are saying as stakeholders, including the Ratepayers Association, the government on board, and we discussed this, people would be, we should not go to Hammersdale. We need transformation in this country. The poor and the black in particular and working class have the right to live in the city. After all, they are the ones who are building the city, and therefore they should not be pushed away like in the apartheid era.
Thapelo Mohapi, thanks very much for your time. General Secretary of Abahlali, baseMjondolo, reacting to the pronouncements by KwaZulu-Natal's Human Settlements MEC, saying that land has been identified to build houses for flood survivors, but you'll recall that there are still flood survivors from 2022 who still do not have permanent places where they can build or their homes can be built. But now they are talking about the victims of the Lamonville floods, which have happened over the past couple of weeks. We'll see how that one pans out.